Good evening, friends. I am Shruti and welcome to webinar by Entrepreneur Cafe. Today we have with us an industry expert here at Rice Barclay, and we are going to talk with him about various insights, and he definitely has some valuable lessons for all you aspiring entrepreneurs out there. So let's welcome none other than Mr. Rajiv Vaishnav.
Thank you.
Hello Rajiv ji, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how about you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Welcome to this webinar. Talking about Mr. Rajiv ji, Mr. Rajiv Vaishnav is currently head of ecosystems and partnerships at Gen Next Hub, that is a Reliance enterprise. Prior to that, he was involved with NASSCOM. Yes, he was there as the vice president of membership outreach for 13 long years. So he has this background of technology sector. Besides that, he has been a founder member. Actually, he's the founder of TIE Mumbai, and he has played a key role in establishing the organization Grassroots Upwards in India. That's right?
Well, not exactly. I was definitely in those early days of TIE when TIE moment was happening in India, and I happened to be the first employee of TIE. So, in that sense, yes, as a co-founder, you can mention.
That's amazing. So let's start this talk with you, and I'm sure our audience are eager to listen to you and the insights that you have to share with all.
Sure, thank you.
So Rajiv sir, I know for sure that you had been vice president of membership outreach, the premier trade body and chamber of commerce for the IT BPO sector in India. You led cyber labs initiatives in Mumbai, Pune and Thane, and you have worked with technology sector for a quite long time. So could you please tell us that what are the new and future technologies we should look forward to?
So technology is ever changing, and I would always put it in relative terms, because when we talk to our friends at Entrepreneur's Cafe, which is a global phenomena and it's growing. And very interestingly, I have been part of eCafe for quite some time now, thanks to Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, a very dear friend and a mentor. So I do realize that entrepreneurs are across the country, at least when we talk of India, and globally as well, of course. So what is futuristic in Bangalore or in Pune or in Hyderabad may not be the same at the same level of intensity at some other locations, which could be tier 2, tier 3. And therefore, when we are talking of the future of technology or future technologies, of course, mobile internet is a huge space which is growing. We are talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, machine to machine, kind of technologies that are coming. Consumer-centric technologies which are becoming big. Now, virtual reality, artificial reality. Now, these are all some of the trending things. Robotics is becoming bigger. So, when we are looking at future technologies, I think it is very relative, according to me, that where I am, what are the customers that I am serving, and for those customers, what are the relevant technologies that I should be using. And I think from that point of view, even a web development could be a futuristic technology for places. And I'll give you an example with Dr. Agarwal and myself. We went to Agartala. And in Agartala, when we went into a shop and we asked them as to who are your customers and do you have any online presence? And they said, sir, we don't have online presence. This is my shop and that's it. Now, in that shop, there were some amazing articles, handicrafts, and so many beautiful things, which is very relevant to northeast of India. But the rest of the country and the world is not even aware of that, is because they are limited without any online presence. So even a proper web designing and a web development. So a web development company in Agartala can do wonders for that community. So I strongly believe that as an entrepreneur, we must know about what technologies are emerging and where the future is going to be. At the same time, we should have our antennas, our eyes and ears on the ground reality, where we can see where the opportunities are. So one is where the technology is going, but the second is where is my opportunity. And if I look at it in my context, that means the context of an entrepreneur, I think the opportunities are phenomenal, always, everywhere.
So, as you talked about artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
just to add to the point that 2 days back I read somewhere that there's a conference happening in Barcelona, and the CEO of SoftBank just stated that in by 2047, artificial intelligence will surpass human intelligence. Do you think?
No, I'm sure. I mean, the way technology is
Booming.
and also it is like all pervasive. So many things that, I mean, even today, the kind of information explosion that is there around. Whether, I mean, we do say that we only use 5% of the brain power, and if we use 40% or 100% of brain power, then maybe we will be able to apprehend the entire information overflow that is happening. But otherwise, the technology of today has already outbidden so much as far as human average ability is concerned, or average human ability is concerned. But yes, by 2047, I don't know where our generation would be, and the entrepreneurship would be definitely at a different order, of a different order than what we are seeing today.
Yes.
And in near future.
Absolutely. So, sir, as you have talked about the path of the future, I just want to, ask you a question about the path of the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a difficult road, and there are many pitfalls, many challenges that one faces when one takes on this difficult road. So, I want to ask you that how long should one persist, whatever may be the outcome?
Well, if you are an entrepreneur, you will keep on attempting, because I think the basic instinct that entrepreneur has, and that is, I think, very important for all of us to realize and analyze, is, they say that बस इस बात पर मेरा परिचय तमाम होता है, बस इस बात पर मेरा परिचय तमाम होता है, मैं उस रास्ते नहीं जाता जो रास्ता आम होता है. So I think the path which is where everyone is going, it's not the path of an entrepreneur. And therefore, it's very difficult to say that up to what level the entrepreneur should struggle or beyond a point. I think it's very, very personal question. And there could be too many things that may happen. But when you have that entrepreneurial DNA in your system, then even if you drop out of active, pursuing active startup or idea and all that, maybe after a couple of years when the situation becomes brighter, you still get into entrepreneurship. And to my mind, entrepreneurship is not just starting an enterprise. Entrepreneurship is a way of life. Entrepreneurship is an attitude of mind. And if we look at that, then even if you are in a job, you still can be an entrepreneur. We may call it intrapreneur, or we may call it by any other name. But an entrepreneur will always remain an entrepreneur, because there are certain basic characteristics that you see in an entrepreneur. The basic characteristic that an entrepreneur would bring on the table is original thinker. He will keep thinking about the possible problem and the possible solution. He will have a huge passion and commitment to whatever that he or she is doing. And most important is the ownership of activity. An entrepreneur would own the activity, and the same principle applies in a job situation. That you are doing a job, and even when you are doing a job and you are not considering yourself as an entrepreneur, but at the same time you are equally passionate to do your job differently, out of box thinking, full of energy, total dedication to timelines, deadlines given to you, and you will make sure that the project will not extend. I will deliver the the project on time with minimum rework to be done on the project, and I own the project. Now, these are the qualities of an entrepreneur. So you don't need to really go for a startup to become an entrepreneur. You can do that even while in a job. So therefore, I'm saying it's a way of life. It's a mindset, and anybody who has that mindset, whether you have a startup, you are doing a business, or you are in a job, I would still call that person an entrepreneur.
So very well said. So you mean to say it's just not a label, but there are certain qualities that makes a person an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It's not just a label, it's an attitude. You carry that attitude with you if you are an entrepreneur. And that would differentiate between the person that you are and the other persons in that group who may have a very stereotyped mindset of an employee versus an entrepreneur.
And just to add to this, I just want to ask you: does an entrepreneur follow a structured rule book, or just a logical thinking, or he's somebody who just goes out of the way and do things differently, break the rules?
No, I think it's a combination of everything, basically. And so I work professionally. I work for GenNext Hub and GenNext Venture Fund, which is a Reliance enterprise. Recently, Mr. Mukesh Ambani was delivering a keynote at a NASSCOM summit, and he was asked this question: that you may please advise entrepreneurs, because NASSCOM has a huge 10,000 startup initiative and things like that. So Mukesh Bhai said that, look, first of all, I should not be advising any entrepreneur because entrepreneurs don't like advices. At the same time, he gave an example. He said when he came from Stanford after studies and he joined Reliance, his father, the founding chairman of Reliance, Shri Dhirubhai Ambani, so he went up to his father and asked that, Papa, what is my role? What is my job description? What am I supposed to be doing? And Shri Dhirubhai gave a amazing answer, and that applies to your question actually here, and therefore I was reminded of that conversation. And he said that if I give you a job description, you become a manager. So you will get a prescription of activities that you are going to do. But an entrepreneur will find his or her answers. They will find their way out. Now, are we able to find our way out? And in that finding a way out, you may have to sometimes think traditionally. You may have to sometimes work within the parameters. You may have to sometimes work outside the parameters and do something which is normally not thought of, normally not done. And you may have to, as you said, break the rules. But it all depends on the circumstances rather than mentioning it that entrepreneurs should only break the rules and can't work in a regular environment. I think it will be stretching too much for or of entrepreneurship. One has to find one's way, I think, is the answer. In whatever way that if you can get your way, if you can get your answer, if you can get, and Mukesh Bhai also mentioned something very interesting. He said one of his professors, Professor Sharma, he quoted, he said, he used to say that I'm not going to give you a list of problems that you find a solution for. He said, you will have to go and find the problems. And I will rate you based on the quality of the problem that you find and the quality of solution that you provide. So I think this is very, very critical for each one of us to realize that being an entrepreneur, am I going after a Me Too solution? Or my quality of problem that I'm looking at is far superior. And therefore, my solution also has to be equally good so that there is a huge potential for my idea or my solution to scale and to grow much faster than anybody else. So I think these are some of the final points as we get on to the journey of entrepreneurship. we encounter these questions, and if we have this desire to perform and desire to bring the best out of us, out of our team, out of the technology, I think the future is in safe hands, I would say.
And the goal is met.
And the goal is met.
Those are very nice philosophy that you stated. I am sure it will help many viewers out there. And I am also carrying this back to my workplace.
Great, thank you.
Think differently, and your problem should add value.
That's right.
To the answers.
That's right.
Now, sir, talking about technology, let's talk a little more. We all know that staying competitive in business means that you've got to be willing and be able to adapt over time. But company leaders might be surprised by the latest development causing a shift in the service industry, the widespread adoption of proprietary technology. Earlier, technology was not very widespread, and the technology was only associated with businesses where technology was heart of their operations. But right now, as you stated the example of Agartala and other startups also, we are seeing a shift that technology and expertise to develop custom applications is available to more and more businesses, not only to SaaS companies. We are then even companies are feeling this pressure to streamline and digitize a variety of aspects of their business, be it management to distribution to marketing, and they're trying to derive standard solution that can custom fit their problems, as you just stated. So I just want to ask you, is proprietary technology an integral part of the game plan?
So again, I would so when you say proprietary, when you say open source, I mean these are all the selections or the identification of technology that provide solution for my requirement, and therefore it will be hard to comment on a question like this, because as I said, an entrepreneur has to find his or her own way and solution. If he is getting his solution through a proprietary software or an open source software, it all depends on the decision that he is taking for the benefit of a larger good. And if that decision drives him to go for a proprietary, he can go for that. If the decision drives him to go for an open platform, he should go for that. So it's a kind of an open question.
I see. And let's talk something on types of exits that investors usually look for. Well, entrepreneurs, as you must be knowing, that exit for various reasons. It starts as a passion and it's a lot of fun to work for a startup. But then after some point of time, this may happen that that work of art, becomes a cookie cutter operator sort of a thing. And apart from that, investors also want to look for their returns. So due to all these reasons, an entrepreneur might just want to spin off or start with a new idea. So when an entrepreneur is exiting, I just want to ask you, what types of exits an investor usually look for?
So I think there is a intertwine in the question. So you are referring to an entrepreneur exiting the original idea and starting something different. And you are asking the question relating to how the investor is looking at exits. So unfortunately, in fact, I just came out of a discussion at VC Circle. There is a seminar going on in Mumbai. And there the discussion again is that there are not enough exits available in the country right now. And very rightly so. So the investors, again, at what level the investors, and investor is a very broad term, right? I mean, investor could be family friends, could be angel investor, and then go into the VC and then PE and otherwise. So the point is that definitely an investor who is investing in our idea is investing based on the potential of the idea, potential of the market, that we are going to cater to, and the ability for us to grow the business. And definitely they are looking at exit. Definitely they are looking at, and when we say exit, it's basically recovery of their investment with benefits. So those benefits could be 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x kind of a return, maybe more 50x, 100x. It all depends upon where they are investing, how the startup has performed and at what level they are investing. So based on multiple levels of investments that we are looking at, definitely, if not in the next immediate round of funding, they would want to exit at one uh, one round of investment after uh, their investment has happened. So it's like they may want to jump one round for better, better valuation of the company. But as I said, there are hardly any IPOs happening out of India from us, from a journey of starting with idea to IPO, and I think that is where there are a lot of discussions, even at government level, at very senior levels in the investment fraternity, that how we can improve the secondary exits and things like that. So it's a very complex subject right now. And definitely, as an entrepreneur, and all of us here are entrepreneurs, we should be working hard to ensure that the return on investment and the valuation of our company be so good that an investor would feel encouraged two ways. There could be a second tranche that the same investor may go in for, that they would like the company so much, and the promise that the company is showing, one would think that, okay, I will still continue and give you a further tranche of money so that I get a far greater return, and that will help the entrepreneur also. Because what happens is, normally it is seen that the patient's capital, as we call it, is very less, which is available in the country. People invest and then wait for the entrepreneur to overperform. Sometimes it may not happen, and this particularly is significantly noticed in the early stage startups, where after the first set of angel investment or a pre-series A kind of an investment, uh, the entrepreneur or the startup team may not be able to complete the journey with the same intensity, and there can be a requirement. There is a gap between the targets that were given by the by the investors and the team together. They have set their targets, and they are falling a little short due to various circumstances. Now that is the valley of death, where most of the startups fail to reach the final line, and that is where that additional support or tranche is important. And if startup shows the tenacity, the passion, the commitment, and again, going back to the discussion that the tips that Shri Mukesh Ambani shared, entrepreneurs should treat investors' money more than his own money. So if one has that kind of a mindset, that it's not just that I'm funded, but now I have additional responsibility. Earlier, I was burning my money, and it's okay. I mean, I do understand. I was so cautious because I was burning my money. But now that I have got investors' money, I should be very careful in handling that money. So if with that attitude, if an entrepreneur is working towards achieving his targets, those interim targets that are being discussed and finalized for the next round of funding that may come to the startup, I think investors would really be very happy in meeting those startups and encouraging them to grow faster and support them whenever required. So exits are important for any investor and also for startups, but it is very important and kind of obligatory on the startup also to see to it that they have the right attitude and the continuing passion, not to deviate from the original focus that the startup with which they have created the startup. Rather than that, once the funding is happening in the middle of the journey, you decide that I'll dump this idea and I'll start something else. I think it's really not fair. And those things would not just impact that particular startup or an entrepreneur, but it may also have a larger impact on the ability of an entrepreneur to gain confidence in the startup ecosystem. So investors would start losing confidence in such entrepreneurs, and that may have, so those entrepreneurs then become a black sheep in the whole in the community, where because of their negligence or such unprofessional kind of an approach, others also may have to suffer and prove themselves more than otherwise.
So I think one key takeaway from this answer is that your entrepreneur should have that maturity to treat other person's money as their own money and right focus, of not to deviate from that.
Absolutely.
So, sir, I want to ask you that sometimes we are walking on a path with a focused attitude and we just have our plans jotted down, but uncertainty is something that can crop up anywhere. And in fact, in emerging countries such as India, uncertainties are predominant due to the very nature of the emerging economy. So how comfortable one should be with uncertainty, and what do you think one can do during this moment of uncertainty?
So there could be multiple uncertainties. I mean, there could be a global uncertainty that you may start sensing. I mean, today, the mediums are so very powerful, the digital mediums, that in my years when I was growing up, an incident happening in some corner of the world may or may not even reach my knowledge, because by the time it would travel, the information, I may have moved on from that topic to something else, because the medium of communication was newspaper or sometimes television and things like that. Now with tweets and multiple such technology platforms, the information is available. So I'm talking of uncertainties. So suddenly there will be uncertainties where the communications could be so fast that we may start worrying even before the uncertainty is really likely to hit anywhere. And those kind of worries would put us on extra alert and paranoid. It's a kind of a situation where one would get paranoid. But we have to understand uncertainties as far as our startups are concerned, our stakeholders are concerned, where what is going to impact me now and in next 3 months or next 6 months till my next level of target is achieved, or even beyond. And there could be some uncertainties which has a lasting impact, and that is where if your startup is in that zone, then it may have repercussion. And if you could see that the repercussion is likely to happen 6 months down the line, and therefore I have to. So there are advantages and disadvantages of over information coming to you, in a sense that if these uncertainties are known to you well in advance, then you can make the corrective action, you can re-engineer your startup, and you can work around the solution. Sometimes uncertainties could be internal also. Sometimes technology is posing a lot of uncertainty. That you build your idea on a particular technology, and suddenly there is a new technology hitting. And Moore's law, which says every 18 months there will be a new technology coming. Now that 18 months also is shrinking. So with that kind of a new device, new technology, new delivery medium, all these things are definitely very disruptive. And once that happens, one has to be agile enough to kind of make those course corrections while the journey is on. So that is where I think the challenge of an entrepreneur has grown multifold than the previous years, where those kind of innovations or disruptions were not as frequent as what we are seeing now. So I think I would say it's an exciting time, and one has to be prepared with open eyes.
And response time has reduced, so one has to respond very frequently as the uncertainty grows.
Exactly.
And I think with every cycle there's a learning.
There is, absolutely. So.
And I also want to ask you about the culture of a company. See, a positive culture can do wonders for an organization. It can boost morale of the employees, and it can definitely reduce employee attrition rate. It can improve external relationship. On the other hand, negative culture can poison the office environment, damage external relationship, and generally lead the company down the road to ruin. So how to grow and maintain positive culture while working at a startup? And could you suggest some do's and don'ts?
Yeah, very interesting question. And I would say that I don't remember the person who has said this, but uh, the gist of his saying was that if the first person who starts following you makes you from a lone nut to a leader, and therefore the ability of a founder, and as you are talking of an organization, I mean, there can be organizations of different sizes, right? So I'm restricting my comments only to startup, where I'm saying that there will be 5, 7, 10, 15 people working. So in a team like this, what is important is that my first employee would be my co-founder, right? Whether I'm able to tell the story right, whether I'm able to convey my aspiration, my vision to that person, and then and only then that person will buy into my idea. So that positivity has to be there for me to convince another person who may know me, who may not know me. There could be many situations. So if he or she is able to do that, the same passion has to continue for the core team that you build, and then it should translate. And particularly the responsibility of the founding team is to act as a role model. If I see that passion in you, if I see that conviction in you, if I see the eye for detail in you, and if I see no chalega attitude in you, automatically I will start respecting you. I will start treating you as a leader. I will start following you, and I will start imitating you. So my behavior also will make sure that I'm right on time in the office. I'm not looking at the watch, but I'm looking at the outcome of my day, because that was the target that I have set for myself. That is how you do your target setting for the day, for the project, for the commitment that you have given to your customer. You don't have a chalega attitude. You make sure that till the time you get the right outcome, you are not leaving the matter. You are persistent, you are consistent, you are focused. I think these are some of the qualities that you bring on table, you bring for the team. Your people skill, we may have a team builder as a part of our team, but as a leader, as a founding team member, are you showing that empathy towards your people? And if there is a personality driven person driven approach, there is so there is that bonding that if you are able to create, I'm sure automatically the organization will be built on those value systems. I think values are very important. We have to inculcate these values right from the beginning of the organization, because each and every person, particularly when you are in a startup mode, when you have a small team, each and every person is very critical, because they all form the foundation of your organization. They are all important pillars of your organization, and no pillar, no, I mean, it's down and dusted when people say that you are as strong as the weakest link. A chain is as strong as the weakest link. Now, each of the member of the chain, the module, has to be so strong that the entire strength of the chain also is very strong. If there is any weak link, then the chain is not that strong. So values and the culture are tremendous of value, I mean, of importance, particularly while you are building the organization. And as it grows, it has to percolate at the last mile, till the last mile, because your receptionist in the office is the first moment of truth that your customer is getting. You know, if you are in that kind of an environment, or the person who does a telecalling or telemarketing, that person's ability and the warmth that the person brings onto a call makes or breaks a sales cycle. So I think these are all very small things we may tend to ignore this, thinking that it's taken for granted. I think one has to be extra sensitive to these aspects as well.
And when you're talking about the chain and smallest and weakest link, and strongest and weakest link, I am sure that one important link in the chain is co-founder. Okay, so when one is looking for co-founder, what qualities should one look for?
Oh, so this is very important. Co-founder is amazingly important. There are very few, and I can think of only one such startup, which is a solo inventor or solo innovator. Jack Ma could be just one such example, who is just one man founder kind of. But otherwise, the founding team has to have at least two people, because it is always important to counterbalance. And if we go deeper into the subject, and I'm sure you guys being entrepreneurs, you know how you would look for your co-founders, right? I mean, you would look for your co-founders who are balancing your abilities. So you look into, as a founder, you look into your resume and you say that these are some holes in my profile. So if I'm a visionary but not a techie, then I need a techie to be my co-founder. If I'm a techie but I don't know how to run the business, I need that person who is an operator, who runs the business. So ideally, if you look at it, there could be 5 verticals that one would look at, and these 5 verticals could overlap also in one person. So it should be a visionary who envision the idea, and you see that this is where my startup should be, and will go. So that is where there is that person who requires to be a visionary in the startup. Then there is an operator who counterbalances the visionary and who will go into a reality check, who will go deep into the details, and who will say, hey guy, what you are saying may not be a realistic scenario. And so there is always a view. But please remember, even the operator has the same value for the vision that the founder has or the visionary has. So there is no dispute as far as the roadmap to the startup is concerned. These are all tactical things which come in play when you start operating, when you start working. Then there has to be a technology guy, because predominantly all these startups are now, if not technology driven, they are technology enabled. So there has to be an engineer in the group who will look into deep domain technologies and evaluate technologies and like that, who will get into product development, design and all that. Then there has to be a kind of a team builder who will build the team. And one more important person in the team has to be the deal maker. The guy without whom, he's the guy who develops business, he's the guy who goes and talks to your stakeholders. He will make sure that more and more people get to know about your product, your solutions, your services, and thereby grow the organization. So I think these 5 are very important. And I was seeing a video, and that was a very the person who was delivering the content, I don't recollect his name, but many years ago when I saw this video, I was quite impressed. The traits of co-founders. And if I summarize what he said, it's a get team, G-E-T, team. G, and he related G with geese. So 3 birds, and their characteristics should be the characteristics of the team. G is geese, E is eagle, and T is turkey. Now, if you look at these 3 birds, they have a very phenomenal characteristics. Eagle has a huge vision. At 30,000 feet, he is seeing the world he is actually going into. So with a macro to a micro view, Eagle is capable of doing it or seeing it. You need somebody, and as I was talking about visionary, you need somebody like that in your team. Eagle vision is very important. Geese, and you know how geese work, right? I mean, when geese fly, first of all, they fly long distance. Secondly, they alter the leadership position. So all these birds will alter the V formation that they fly with at the point that leader keeps changing. So a certain distance, one bird is flying, then it rotates to another bird, and that bird takes ownership. So I think the team builder that we are talking about, or the deal maker, these are the qualities that are long haul. They are the people who has the ability to go longer. So that is another characteristic of a co-founder. And T is territorial. So Turkey will move in a territory, and that's the world that the Turkey would have. And that is where the deep domain guys, that this is my focus, this is what I want to do. I'm a technology guy, I will go deep into technology. I don't care your vision and all. I will, when I say I don't care, it's not that. What I'm saying is that you may do all your jobs, but tell me what I'm supposed to do when I'll do that. So between the eagle, the geese, and the turkey, I think you will find your co-founding team, and you can put people based on their strengths. And I think that brings a wonderful startup team to look at.
So that's a very good advice for all the birds of entrepreneurship. So they will definitely go back and do some analysis and find out where they.
Yeah, I'm also learning as I keep seeing all these or keep listening to some thoughts like this. It's very intriguing. So it's interesting.
Absolutely.
I think we are holding them on because we were to start at 5. We got delayed because of some technical reasons.
Yeah, so we'll wrap up this webinar with one last question.
Yes, please.
And this question is about business entities. Of all the choices when an entrepreneur is starting a business, one of the most important type of the question is what type of legal structure a company should have, because that decision has a lot of impact on taxes and paperwork, etc. So would you suggest that one should create an enduring business entity?
Yeah, so I think that goes without saying that one should create an enduring business entity. But thankfully now there are so many mentors available, so many people who guide entrepreneurs I think everywhere they are available. It is important to get the right kind of guidance in the beginning of your journey rather than when you are stuck with a problem. So it is important to consult chartered accountants. It is important to consult company secretary, lawyers in the beginning itself, so that you eliminate all possible problems, and they are able to provide you with multiple options that are available and good for you, looking at your situation and the idea that you want to kind of pursue. So it is very, very critical to have that input in the beginning of the journey rather than somewhere in the middle. So enduring organization is every entrepreneur's dream or wish, that they would want to have an enduring enterprise for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajiv ji, for your valuable time. I'm sure that all the viewers have learned a lot from your insights that you provided during this webinar. And just to wrap up, Rajiv ji threw light on various aspects related to technology, related to how serious one should be about treating investors' money as his own money. He talked about the formation geese, eagle, and turkey, that these are the qualities that one should look for when one is looking for a co-founder. He also talked about proprietary technology, that how important it is, and exits is one of the important topic that is of importance for every investor and for every entrepreneur out there. So thank you so much for your valuable insight.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, for this wonderful opportunity, and eCafe, 3 cheers to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhil ji. Thank you, Budh. Thank you, Saket. And thank you, eCafe, for organizing this wonderful webinar.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Rajiv Vaishnav and Shruti signing off from Rice Barclay, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.